Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. So today we'll see one more concept in DevOps, that is the importance of Docker tool. So what is a Docker and what exactly we can do by using this Docker tool? So as we discussed in our previous session, the DevOps is completely the automated tools, and here in our previous sessions we have discussed about the Jenkins tool, right, which is an integrated tool. And now we'll see what is a Docker and the importance of Docker. So before going to the concept, let me explain you one thing. So which every developer will be facing a problem with the deployment. So here the problem with the deployment. So what is the problem in a deployment? So for example, A is a developer and B is a client. Okay, so B will give the project so that A have to deploy the project on client B, right? So the complete project has been developed here. Okay, so the complete project has been developed by the developer in this environment, and the same code should be deployed in the client's environment. Okay, client's environment. So what happens here? The developer will develop the code in different environment. Okay, the environment. Okay, may use a different packages. May use some config files, some environmental variables, right, etc., etc. So in order to develop the project, the developer has been used all these things, right? And in order to run the project, actually, so after developing the project, the developer has tested and that project runs successfully in this particular system. That means A, the system A. And now the final phase is whatever the project developed by developer in his or her own system should be deployed into the system B, because this is a client. It's a client system. And what we have to do? So we have to copy all these things into the client B. Then only the project will run. So what we have to do? So we have to take care about the environment here, and we need to take care about the packages including versions, right? So whatever the packages used for development including versions should be get installed here, and whatever the config files we are using during the development, the same thing should be installed in the client system, and similarly environmental variables. So whatever the files related to the project or application developed by the developer should be loaded in the B, client B, right? So should be installed. Everything should be installed, including versions. So if doesn't meet these requirements in the client system, then obviously the project or the application may not run in the client system, because of difference of all these things which are used by the developer and which are available in the client system, right? So I faced the same issue while doing my project, okay, during the undergraduation. So I have done the project in my system and that works perfectly, and finally we have to give the presentation in the college, and where I have to deploy my complete code into the college system, which doesn't work. So this is the main problem in the deployment. And in order to solve this problem, we had a tool called Dockers. Docker is a tool which packs all the related information regarding the applications, and it will be saved as an image, so that image can be executed in the production system of any environment, so that project can run consistently in any environment with the help of this Docker image. So the Docker will use to run the application in any environment without any deviation or without any problem, right? So that is the usage of Docker. So this is a problem. Okay, this is a problem, right? See, now we'll see what exactly means a Docker. I'll write here so that you will be understanding. Hope you got an idea about the Docker. Okay, what it does. So it is a software tool packs all the details like application, libraries, config files, etc. So that means all the related, all the data which is related to our application to run on the system will be packed, and that can be installed in the production system, that is a client system. So what is the main purpose of this Docker? So it is used to run application which the developer has been developed, to run application on any environment, consistently. So whatever the project we have done, that means whatever the project the developer have done, so that should be installed in any environment without any deviation. So for that, the smooth execution, we are going to use this Docker. So now we'll see the components of Docker. What are the components of Docker? What are the components? The first one is Docker image. Docker image. So we'll be seeing these image files, right? If you want to install any operating system, so you will be seeing some image files with an extension ISO, right? So everything will be get packed into a single file, which is called an image, so that we can directly install that image file in our system to get the operating system. Hope you have experienced it, everyone. So otherwise no problem. But the first component is a Docker image. So this is nothing but standalone lightweight and executable file, including, which includes here, so all the application information, applications, libraries and related files. That means whatever the config files, environmental files, etc. Everything will be packed into a Docker image. Okay, in a single file. It's a single file. And the next one, Docker container. This Docker container is an instance of Docker image which acts as a process in the host machine. So that means if you want to execute the Docker image, this Docker container will be executed. So this will be acting as an instance of Docker image. So it is an instance of Docker image, acts as a process in a hosted machine. So in which machine we want to install the Docker image, in that machine this particular Docker image will be acting as a process. That means execution. So that we usually call it as a container. So one requirement, so we have to install the Docker in the client system also. In order to execute these Docker images, the Docker installation should be done in the client image. So already we have seen the Docker installation in our previous session, right? So follow the same procedure to install the Docker. Now the next one, Docker engine. Docker engine. So which manages all the containers for execution, right? So it manages all the containers, right? Execution of the Docker images, And the last one is a Docker Hub. So this is similar to our GitHub, right? So this is a public registry where we can store all the Docker images in a single position, in a single place, where all the developers can share the Docker images or execute the Docker images on their own applications. So Docker Hub is similar to GitHub, so which is a public registry. So we can also call it as a cloud, right? So where all the Docker images will be placed. Public registry where thousands of, or you can say all Docker images can be placed, and so that developers can make use of these Docker images. So similar to our GitHub, here also we will be having a repositories, the public repositories and the private repositories. So if the repository is a public, so anyone can use the Docker images of that particular repository. So I can write a code here, and any one of you can execute my code in your system by using the Docker image of my repository. So I'll show you everything of those, how to create a Docker image, how to execute the Docker image, and how can we push the Docker image to the Docker Hub so that any one of you can use my Docker image, right, in our further sessions. Now I'll show you only the introduction part. In our next session we'll see the commands, how to create the Docker image, execute the Docker container, and then push the Docker image to the Docker Hub, right? So these are all the different components of a Docker. So this is also a tool. It's also a tool. So everything is automated. Right? Next. The next one is the benefits. What are the benefits of Docker? The first and foremost benefit, just now we have seen, it will maintain a consistency to run the application in any environment. So the first one is consistency to run in any environments. And next, so it is very easy to deploy the application into the client system. So deployment is easier. So deploying the code into the production system is very easier. And the next one is a resource utilization. The effective resource utilization can be done by using this Docker, right? So hope you understood this one. So what is the importance of Docker and what are the different components of Docker? Docker engine, Docker container, Docker image, Docker hub. And also we have seen the benefits of Docker, and we have seen what is the drawback of before coming to the Docker, what is the drawback of deploying the developed code or application to the client machine, right? So let's stop here. In our further session we will see how to create a Docker image and all the commands in order to execute an application by using this Docker tool, right? So let's stop here. If you really enjoyed my session, like my session, share my session with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.